Hey, business building warrior. It's your buddy Jim with Silent Sales Machine Radio. Thanks for joining me again today for a great episode with a guest. This is someone we heard from a little over a year ago. We'll stick a link in the show notes to that episode where we first met Mrs. Cris Beam. She's been in our community, like I said, a little over a year, selling on Amazon. She's doing between $30,000 and $40,000 a month, just her, until a few days ago, and running at great profit margins, growing consistently. She talks today on several subjects. We kind of wandered around. It was like two friends kind of getting caught up and talking about business at the same time. I have a lot of respect for her approach. She's very driven. She's very determined. She's very transparent, which I think you'll appreciate today. She talks about some of the things that worry her. We dive, for example, into the topic of, hey, what if Amazon suspends me? How concerned should I be? What is the proper mindset for us to have about playing in Amazon sandbox? How much control do they have over my life and income? Should I get a warehouse? Should I make big investments with them having so much power? So we had fun with that. We had fun talking about when is the right time to hire? How do you grow your team? Should I be bringing other people on board? What roles should they play? So it was just a really good time of hanging out and talking with someone whose business has been consistently growing, doing the Replens model, the proven AmazonCourse.com course that teaches most new sellers the Replens model. That's what we talked about. That's what she's doing. She's going to be getting into some private labels soon. We talk about the strategy that she's probably going to be using there and some ideas that she has there. We're going to talk about how easy it is to find products. We both agreed, and we see it over and over in our community. The people who are saying, I just can't find anything to sell. Those are the people who are brand new to our community, or they haven't taken the proven Amazon course yet. They haven't paid attention to the trainings on the past podcast episodes, because stuff to sell is everywhere. Profitable inventory, no matter where you live in the world, it's easy to get your hands on the profitable inventory. The tricky part of this business is building a system to scale up. Like I said, she's at $30,000 to $40,000 a year now. I think she'll be at about $1.5 million business, is my projection based on the path she's on, about a year from now, with her and her husband and a small team, maybe some virtual assistants or maybe some shoppers and preppers mixed in. It's a significant business they're growing. We talk about some of the tools that she uses. It's the popular tools you've heard us talk about many times before. If you go to silentjim.com, you'll see links to all of those as well. And just a lot of good, inspirational, motivational, transparent moments in today's episode. I think you'll really appreciate it. She speaks from the heart. She's one of these people that you know what she's thinking. She's going to share exactly what she's thinking. And I love that she's become a huge advocate for what it is we do around here. So enjoy today's episode with Mrs. Cris Beam. So Cris, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
It's good to see you again, my friend. I can't wait to get caught up. We haven't spoken in quite a while. I know a lot's happened. So how about we recap your story for those who have never heard from you before? And there's a link in the show notes to that episode. So we're not going to spend a lot of time there. And I'll probably mention it in the introduction too. But then we'll jump into what's happened since. But how about a recap first, if that's okay?
Sure. So we had our first podcast at some point in January, I think the first half of it. And at that point, I had been in the business about almost 4 months. I started mid-September and I hit the ground running. I mean, that's basically how I do everything. Yeah. I mean, you should see me take off in my car in a relaxed manner. I jump in, slam on the seatbelt, and just screeching tires, right, pulling out. So that's basically how I do everything. And it's the exact same thing with my Amazon business.
That reminds me of a question I have for you later in the interview, by the way, on that note, but we're not going to go there now. Keep going.
Okay. So I basically... when the last podcast recording, I had been doing this business for about 3.5 months or so.
Right.
And I think it hit 70,000. And I had a pretty good December, right? So October was my first full month. And then I had a great November at, I think, 18,000. And in December, my third month, I had reached 38,000, I believe. And at that point, it felt pretty amazing, right? It was a pretty good achievement. But again, I'm someone that needs results fast. Otherwise, I get bored. And it's a constant challenge, right? To up the previous month. But going back to my story, I had spent over a decade, not to give away my age, which is really no secret, but I had spent over a decade in the insurance business and in various roles. And when I retired from the business, I basically walked away from what had been my dream job. And I basically was looking for a new dream to replace that. I refused to do something that I'm not passionate about. Mainly because that's how I define myself, through what I do and the value of my work. And that's what gives me the greatest satisfaction. I always hear on podcasts, everyone's goal is to get away from corporate, is to work less or not work for the man, or to spend more time with the family, and all of those are great goals. But for me, my ultimate goal in life is to beat yesterday's Cris. So, and work gives me immense satisfaction and happiness and sense of fulfillment. So that being said, given who I am, I knew that I had to find a new dream job, something that is fulfilling, something that is challenging, something that kept me going. And I ran into this silent gym guy, right? Somewhere on the internet after looking through, all the social media. I signed up for a few courses. I spent so much money in courses that I never even opened. I've never even logged into them. And some I have, and I was pretty disappointed. A lot of them were pushing the private label model, which to me is like, again, and that's when I came up with the whole pants losing model.
You
that's
coined the term. Yeah, you call the PL model the pants losing model for good reason. We've got ample evidence. That's most people end up in bad shape 6-9 months into that model. And so we try to offer an alternate path. And I love that you came up with that phrase. I've used it many times since. I probably owe you about $1.50 in nickel per mention commissions at this point. So
that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. I mean, but you see it in the group. I mean, you have a huge group, 65,000 people now? I mean,
we'll be at 70 before we know it. Yeah. It's just,
exactly.
when you teach things that work, the word spreads, and that's what we're seeing.
Right. But another thing that I'm seeing is people coming over or asking questions in the group for help with recovering funds, help with getting started in a different direction. A lot of posts with, I started in another group with this, I came up with a product and it's being shipped from China, and now they're asking for someone had just posted that someone was asking for $4,000 in shipping costs for their first product from China. And it's just, these are stories that are just, they make me want to cry for those people. They got in with some guru, right? With this Amazon super seller, and this whole private label for newbies was a big issue for me. And I did not want to associate myself or learn from anyone that was pushing private label onto newbies, because to me that speaks to their character, or maybe lack thereof, or maybe not character necessarily, but I just found it wrong. And if they do one wrong thing, they probably do more than that. Right.
Well, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I know a lot of people in the industry, Cris, and I'm right there with you. I mean, I think it's tragic for new sellers to go down that road, but I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But after doing this for a long time, just the results just aren't there. And if I can't expect a reasonable number of new students to have a success story on the other end, we can't control all the outside elements, the motivation and the determination and the character of the people we're teaching. Those come into play for sure, but you should have a reasonable number of success stories. I think that's the only metric that really matters. In our community, we highlight it frequently. We've got over 1,000 tagged success testimonials
stories
from our students. Like, that tells you something. And if you're one of these communities and they don't have that, or maybe they've got their 3 or 4 shiny testimonials, and in a group of tens of thousands, like, where are all the successful people? Shouldn't there be more? And in spite of the best intentions of the leaders who may be really great people. Let's assume they are. They're teaching business concepts. They want success, but it's just not getting the result. It's a long, hard, difficult road to start on with private label. I think we can definitely agree with that. And we reserve those strategies for our more advanced students, or maybe someone like you who's ready to start thinking about these things at this point. You've learned a lot of the hard lessons that are necessary to start down that road. But yeah, I appreciate all the positive input. All the positive support of our group. You've always had great things to say. Thank you.
It's, like everything, you really want to provide value and go above and beyond. And the value should not be all paid, right? I mean, throw a dog a bone every once in a while, and there's a whole boneyard, right? In the group. There's so much help. There's questions being answered. There's positivity. Even if, someone needs smacked upside the head a little bit, it's done in a gentle and positive manner. And the group just provides so much value. And that was the backup that I needed to see. It was the backup to the positive reviews that I had seen for the PAC course. And at that point, that's when I decided let's just get one more course that I'm probably never going to watch. But I did. And it was just this one module that Honey and Jimmy Smith were doing. And it all clicked for me. And it just, all of a sudden, just everything came together. And, I had only been doing that, or I had just started looking into it, right? I really didn't know much, but I'm a fast learner and I'm a hard worker. So I basically assimilated as much information as I could in the shortest amount of time and got to work. And it's, and I had a great October, great November, even better December. So I started in Q4. Everyone was talking about all sorts of things that I didn't know about. But you know what? If there was something that I didn't know about, I learned it real quick. So it's part of, hard work and grit and shared information in the group that really, really helped propel my business. And now in January, I was at 70,000, right? Inception to date. Now I run about 400,000 rolling 12 months. So I'm pretty happy about it. I'm just a little bit over 350,000 year to date. And I'm pretty positive that I'll get another 50,000 before the year is done. And
as we're recording, just to give people a point of reference, you're about a year into this journey, right? A little over, and you're doing about $30,000 a month at this point, bouncing up to 40 in some of the good months. It sounds like strong, right? And is it still just you, Cris?
So I am very happy to announce that as of this past Monday, 5 days ago, my husband left his job and is now working with me full time.
I love to hear that.
Yes, I thought you would, because you always talk about bringing dads home.
I do.
So, yeah.
And please allow me to explain so it's not misunderstood. So often it is. I don't know what it's like to be a mom that gets to come home, because I'm not a mom. I probably never will be. I'm sure I never will be. But I know what it feels like to be a dad who gets to be home with his kids and be there with his wife. And just, she's in the other room and our kids that haven't moved out yet are down that way, right? I mean, like, we're all here together. And I just know what that did for our family dynamic. I know what it felt like for me as a guy, as a man. I want that for other guys. I don't want what it feels like to be a woman or a mom. And goes, I want it for you too, but I understand what it means to a guy. And just the benefits that the list continues to grow. We've been doing it 20 years. Benefits to me. And my wife, I'm sure, could attest to the benefits to her and the challenges too, but it's way more benefits and opportunities than it is challenges, for sure. And so awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I said congratulations.
Absolutely.
Guy. That's awesome.
Thank you. He's actually doing the school pickup right now. So that's great, because that gives me more time. It gives me time to be here with you. It gives me time to get out the FBM orders. It gives me time to, put my feet up for 30 minutes after running all day.
The freedom and the flexibility of schedule, though, for both of you to enjoy
Right.
and map out
Right.
this new, we're kind of off the grid, but still on it in a cool way. It's this
Right.
interesting dynamic of liberty with all the benefits of still having all the benefits if you guys had two great jobs.
Right.
But you don't have the time commitment that would be required if you both had two great jobs and left to the house every day at 8 a.m. and got back at 6. Like you actually get to see each other during the day.
Exactly. And it's amazing. And it's, I have an 11-year-old son.
Right.
And I was always the career-driven mom, right? So yes, I was a mom first, but it was, career was a very close second. Plus, I had a very demanding job, and I had taught everyone else around me that the standards were so high that I could not let them slip for 1 second.
So you had to hold your standards even higher. So you were all in, right? Admirably so. Yeah.
Right. So I was that person that worked 80 hours a week on the regular with, I'm sure you've heard of the open enrollment with in health insurance, which is what I was doing. And that was 100 hours a week. That was straight, no days off. I maybe like have Thanksgiving Day off. And that was not imposed. That was self-imposed, right?
Right.
And it was just because that's what it took to get the job done to the standards that were acceptable to me, which is basically nothing short of excellence. So
I bet they hated seeing you leave. I'm just guessing.
Well, don't know about that, maybe, but
the people you reported to, I'm sure they did. The people who worked for you, it sounds like you drove them pretty hard, So
that's funny because my husband, I'm like, we're about 5 days in now, right? So I was telling him yesterday, thank God it's you, honey, not someone else, because you're so used to me yelling at you anyway.
You'll figure all this out. Maybe we can talk some other time too about the dynamic. We've had a lot of couples that have had to figure that out because sometimes I'm the boss and sometimes we're coming making a decision, and other times we're just trying to figure out what's for dinner. Those are two very different conversations, different tone, different, feel. Yeah, so you'll enjoy navigating through this next stage, and it's going to be awesome for sure.
Yeah. And it's, and I was saying about my son, and my son was always the kid to get dropped off in the morning and then go to after school care. And he was one of the last children to be picked up from daycare, 6:15. So I always, I didn't feel bad about it, but I thought that maybe it's not always the best thing for him. And now for the past year, I've been able to take him to school and pick him up at 3 and then do some after school activities. And that was another thing that was a problem in my career. Everything, all the after school activities happen at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I mean, I'm still at work at 6. I'm barely leaving the office. Right. So he missed out on that for a long time. But now for the past year, we've been able to go to baseball practice, to games, to this, to that.
That's beautiful.
It's right. So it's definitely a positive change, especially now with my husband being home. My husband's the more fun parent.
There's something so endearing about the way you say that.
Yeah, I'm kind of the geek.
I've got to say, Cris, this is the most rewarding part of what I get to do. I've been 20 years doing this, and it was just me, and I'd have been content just doing it myself. But people started asking questions, so I started answering those questions. And I've quickly discovered the most rewarding part of this is seeing when other people take a little nugget that you hand them, maybe a little seed that you hand them, and grow it into this beautiful tree. And you come back and revisit it, and you're like, look at this amazing thing that's happened. I gave you a little seed. I didn't do the work. I gave you some ideas. We pushed you in the right direction. You shaped it. You did the work. Look what you've built. And for me to have a part of the foundation of that story is so incredibly rewarding. So thank you for sharing those details. It's beautiful. And not to cut you off, but I just wanted to share, that's how this story hits me as you're going through it.
Right. It's basically the business is life-changing in so many ways. It's family dynamic, it's work dynamic, it's it's building something for yourself versus building for someone else. It's teaching children work ethic and teaching them different ways of thinking, that, you don't have to have that 9 to 5 job and go work for someone else. You can actually put your brain to work and come up with something to do for yourself.
That's
so
right.
My son's obsessed with Pokemons, and he was researching them on the computer, his rare cards, to see if he can flip them. So I'm thinking, might let him figure it out.
Yeah, it was a short, maybe 15 years fly by, right? Maybe 15 years ago, when our son at the time, Trey, was obsessed with tech deck, the little finger skateboards.
Yes.
So I got him a little video camera, and I said, I wasn't helping him monetize it, but I was helping him get used to the idea of whatever it is that you're passionate about. And we've done this with all our kids. Whatever it is that you're interested in, find a way to serve other people who have a similar interest. And you'll have some cool friends, but you'll step into that leadership role a little bit. So he started making videos on YouTube. That was his first internet exposure. And he's running this huge successful business. And it all goes back to that same rewarding feeling. We were talking about this recently, that same rewarding feeling that he got initially as a 9-10-year-old, having people like and comment. And in some cases, they were cruel, horrible people, and we'd have to block them. And even that's a good lesson. Like, there's mean people in the world, right? They're out there. And we're going to protect you from them, and you're going to build ways to protect yourself from mean, evil people like that. But but putting yourself out there, I would say, get him a YouTube channel, have him create some content, put on some parental blocks, watch the comments as they come in, kind of thing at his age, But have them get used to the idea of using whatever they're interested in to serve others and grow a community. And that's better than anything you're going to get in any kind of business class at school. I'll promise you. You're working with mom and dad on something like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, I think this is a great way to teach some skills that if needed, he can fall back on, right? You always having a plan B, having an escape plan in life is an excellent thing, right? Same for, having some getaway money, having an escape plan. That is something that's always good to have in the back pocket. And some random skills that, I probably apply a lot more of life lessons than school lessons, right? At this point in my life. And I'm sure you can say the same.
Yeah.
So it's definitely great for him. It's great for the family. My husband and I have always worked well together. I'm very type A, he's very type B. He's more laid back and more fun. I'm more, what was the name of that? Was that the Police Academy? What movie was it? This severe looking lady in a uniform with a stick.
There's a lot of movies that have that character.
That's more,
for some reason, it just popped in my mind. The Monsters, Inc. movie with the what was her name? Roz. Where's the paperwork, right?
And then my husband's the more goofy, fun, and it's actually, we really balance each other out. So that's really great. And but really, we had to do something, because I had really gotten to a point where we were losing money every day by him going to work. And he would work 2 jobs, because he'd be at work all day and come home. And I'd like, honey, can you help me with this? And honey would help me with that. And 3 hours later, honey was still working, right? And
sure.
So poor guy didn't have a weekend, didn't have a day off, didn't have a night off. And he just, he put his head down and kept helping me. But I was basically to the point where I need to start looking for people to help. And even now, with him helping, there's, when you're new, I'm sure you don't remember this, but you see it all the time. When you're new, the main problem is, where do I find product? Oh, I need to find a replen. I can't find anything.
Trust me. It's the number one question. I know if someone's new, if they say, I can't find anything to sell. What you just said is, I've only been here a very short time.
Right.
Because once you go through our content, like right now, Cris, as we're sitting here, we have a list of, we need 30 it's 3,200, somewhere between 3,200 and 3,800 units of product that's sitting on shelves in stores around us right now as I'm sitting here. We just can't find a shopper to go get it. Like, we're finding so many new replens that are profitable.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
thousands of items.
Right.
We just can't get enough shoppers out right now because we're coming up on the holidays and someone's sick and someone else's, whatever circumstances. And it's not finding product that's the challenge. It's
Right.
building a system, as you and I both know. This, not to steal your thunder, but from the point you're about to make. But yeah, I'm right in that same boat.
Right.
Not being able to find product, that's a rookie problem. You haven't been doing
exactly.
Right.
I mean, there's so many ways to source and find product. There's so many products out there that it's basically product overload at some point. And then you need people to shop for them. You need people to prep them. You need people to ship them. There's so many other things to be done that finding product is literally the easiest thing to do. And there's so many ways to source, right? I don't really like sourcing in the store. I will go to the store if I'm looking for something hot, right? Which is a point that this is something that I want to talk about because I think I discovered the secret to success in this business, and I want to share it with everyone.
Let's do it.
But I'm really more of I source online. I have tactical arbitrage, and I have all the fancy tools. Do I use them? Not really. You know what I use? I look at a product that I have already and that I've been selling, and then I'm thinking, I wonder if something else similar is selling. And I go down a rabbit trail just on plain old Amazon.com, and that is by far the most fruitful sourcing there is. You don't need any fancy tools. Excuse my dogs. There's
Dad's home.
Another delivery.
A delivery. There we go.
Yeah, 20 times a day. So, and that is my online arbitrage is my favorite. And I do mostly online arbitrage. But then I will also hit the stores if I'm looking for something hot. And something hot being something that is a really hot product at the moment, or something that I sell a lot of. So I need to get in and get out while I can, right? And while I make my money on it. And this is where I discover, at least for me, the secret to success in this business. So to build up to that, what happened in the spring, I was doing so great. December was amazing. January was amazing. February, something happened. I had to pull some product back due to an IP risk company. I was getting a few too many letters. I was just uncomfortable, but I had about 80 SKUs or so in this one brand, and I was killing it. But then it started getting a little bit too hot. So I decided to cut my losses and pretty much start over. Right. So I had to go back to, find more new replens. I had to pretty much rebuild for a couple months. And then I caught myself in this, I was on this roller coaster. I was doing a lot of FBA and a very little FBM. I was doing a lot of FBA, a very little FBM. Then I was doing a lot of FBM, very little FBA. And my months kind of look like that because I had months when all the FBA would hit and I was selling FBM along with it. The following month, my hot items, I could no longer find them if my FBA inventory had been depleted. Because the previous month, basically, I had spent my entire time chasing this hot product and not focusing on replenishing my FBA items. So what I'm getting at is finding balance, figuring out the way to balance constant and consistent FBA shipments with hunting for your hot sellers right now. To me, that's been the key to success. So I had, I can't recall exactly, but June was a very slow month for me because I had run out of all the you couldn't find my number one May seller. You couldn't find it within 200 miles, right? I had cleared all of them out and sold them. And because I was busy doing that, no one had time to look for little $1, $2 replens, right? Well, and then June came and the FBM, my hot FBM product was gone, and I had no inventory into FBA or very little. And guess what happened that month? It wasn't good.
Yeah, it tanked
Exactly.
down. Mm-hmm.
So to me, balancing them out and making sure that I have enough product into FBA. And it's amazing because when you don't go out shopping and you have no inventory at your house or at your warehouse to sell it right now, but you have product into FBA, you can take a day off. And you know what? The numbers are still there. And that's, to me, that has been the number one thing. And it's also been the number one problem because it was just one of me, right?
Yeah.
And it was costing me money to do all of this by myself. And the number one job of any business owner, of any manager, of any leader is to manage assets, right? And asset management is crucial. If you can't put the wrong people in the wrong jobs, right? Or the right people in the wrong jobs. Otherwise, they don't produce at or the level or, the results that you're looking for. And that was a big issue for me as a business owner, because as far as I'm concerned, I am the number one asset of the business, right? I am the person in charge. I find the product, I work the product, I work the business, I handle all of that. And for me to spend the number one asset's time doing, running to Walmart was not, or, packing 50-pound boxes the way, half my body weight. Well, I wish, but close. It's not really the best use of my time or brain power, or is really misusing company assets, right? So thinking of things in that way really made me decide to hire someone, at which point my husband actually offered, and it's now a business of two, and it's going fantastic. And we're still to the point where I think I probably need another helper.
Yeah. And I'd like to think through that with you a little bit and just help you kind of process through that. But I want to restate what I just heard you say and ask a couple questions. I totally tracked with you the entire time. It's, and see, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a couple months here over the spring, summer where there was a really hot product and you spent your time hustling, tracking it down. And in the meantime, you were burning through the product that was sitting on the shelves at Amazon. That's the FBA. Right. For those who are tracking, FBM is when we ship it in ourselves, merchant fulfill, you'll hear it called, or FBA, on the other hand, is when you send it to Amazon and then you wait for it to sell there. But if you're spending your time jumping in your car, chasing around this small handful of really hot products, you're burning through your FBA. So once you've burned through all the product that you've been flying around buying and your FBA stuff sold, you're sitting on the heels of what was just a great month. And now you have no inventory.
Exactly.
So my question for you, if I got it right, is what would you have done differently? How could you have handled it differently? If you had a time machine and you could go back or tap yourself on the shoulder and say, hey, quick hint, do this instead. Because there's hot product out there, right? What would you do? What should you have done? And I think I know what I would say, but I'm just curious how you've processed. You spent more time tackling this challenge in your own mind than I have just hearing it here for a couple minutes. So what have you thought?
Well, so what happened is I started doing what I'm doing right now because I'm still having the same issue. I'm still chasing a few hot products, but I made sure to have at least 1 to 2 shipments a week into FBA. And it's a challenge. But what I do every time, all of our products are usually found in certain stores, right? So you're kind of going to the same stores or the same chains over and over. So one thing that I do is I found other replens at those stores and replens that I send into FBA. So to me, the FBA replens, those are the bread and butter. And then you have the FBM bigger items. And what I do, FBM, like FBM, I usually do only sell large and more expensive items FBM. So you will not see me FBM anything less than maybe 75, $80 sale price, but it would be a lot more in the 100 and over for FBM.
Is that to maximize your storage space? What's your, that's what is that? I'm sure, assuming that's one of the reasons. What are the other reasons for only going high price on your merchant fulfill?
It's mostly because I'm looking for more of a profit. It's to me is more about time, cost of time, right? And if I'm going to spend the time, I need to make sure I make at least about $50 or so per hour doing that. So anything that will sell, if it makes $5 and it makes it quick enough, goes into FBA. It needs to make me a little bit more for me to put the time to merchant fulfill that, because there's additional costs, and time is just, I have never found time more precious than I do right now, because there's so little of it.
And I think one of the things that you're going to discover as you begin to hire help, and we have a couple of virtual assistants, for example, even, that is, you're saying, man, I just don't know if I can afford to spend the time. As you offload these tasks onto other people, now you can do it. So I see that merchant fulfill number as you have some more space, maybe dropping. And pretty soon, there's no difference in the standard. A good product's a good product. That's my philosophy, for example, is I don't say based on price point, if it's an FBA or merchant fulfill item, I say, where are we going to make money? Because we got plenty of storage. I got the help. I got the team.
Right.
We've got plenty of products, both FBA and merchant fulfill, if it makes sense, right? It's a decision that's made on a case-by-case basis. And as long as it's profitable, we're going to sell it. But I can see where you're at. If you're the one doing all the work, it's like, man, if I'm the one that's actually going to have to put it in a box and ship it to a customer, I better be making some cash. As you bring in it, that's the beauty of growing a team, is it frees up asset management. That's what we're doing. People, the money, inventory, you're managing them. And it's almost like a game that you can't stop playing at the end of the day, shifting the pieces around and trying to maximize the results. But the beauty of it is it just works. And even if you're not all that good at it, you're making money. And it's just fun, that momentum. So a year into it, how do you grade yourself on this whole managing the process? Like what letter grade would you give yourself, or how do you evaluate, and where are you at on it compared to where you were and where you want to be?
Managing the process. I probably, at this point, I probably give myself about a C, maybe a B, but things are definitely going to get better with my husband helping me out. And then we have plans for the summer. We're probably going to travel a little bit. I'm never been a vacation taker, but apparently other people enjoy it, like my family. So that's something that we will have to do. I think hiring people, that's been something that I was just really not looking forward to. And I think my husband and I will do just fine for a while. But I honestly am to the point where I feel like I need a team. I need a warehouse. I mean, honestly, I could have done $1 million this year if I had the people,
the space, and a couple more people. Yeah.
Right.
Who do you think you might hire next once you and your husband have a routine kind of nailed down? Any anticipation there? I kind of have an instinct, but I'm curious, what do you think's coming next? If you thought that far out, I'm just curious if you've thought that far out, maybe.
I have, and it's definitely need a couple of shoppers and someone to do warehouse management type thing and prep and ship, because to me, that's not something I enjoy. I mean, to get me to prep is just like pulling teeth. Like I'd rather do anything else.
Yeah.
So I find it tedious. I don't like doing tedious and boring tasks. That gives me no happiness. I could be doing something a lot more productive. Right. And I love to source. I like online arbitrage. I love sourcing. This morning between 5 and 7 a.m., I basically spent 2 hours just looking at the product finder on Keepa just for entertainment. And guess what? I found some killer products just like that. I wasn't even looking for them. I was just having my coffee. And I enjoy doing that. What I don't enjoy is the prep and ship and then running around, getting the, daily replens, the small stuff. It's just, that's something that could definitely be done by someone else. And I, I've had the Replen dashboard, Jimmy Smith's software, for a while. Being just me, I didn't have to use it because it's all in my head. I mean, I found the products, I found them all. I know what I'm getting. I know what I need to get. I know what's selling. I know what's not selling. I also use a lot of the whole inventory restock suggestions from Amazon.
Of course.
And I find those to be pretty accurate, except for, sometimes they don't tell you that they're about, they ask you to send in 300 of something and then they jump on the listing next week at half your cost.
That's frustrating.
That happens. But for the main part, I do find that inventory dashboard pretty accurate on the Amazon one. But now that my husband's with me and he's going to split some of the shopping, I'm really going to start using the Replen dashboard because the things are in my head, but they're not in his. So he's going to need a list, right, to shop from.
Yeah, getting his list nailed down. Yeah, and Replen dashboard has some great features there where you can just turn your shopper loose. My goal for our team was I wanted to be able to train a new shopper in 2 minutes. I wanted it to be broken down to where it was that simple.
Okay.
And I think we're there. So if you need any help with that as your team grows, and we're actually working closely with Jimmy and the Replen dashboard guys, and with spreadsheets that kind of enhance what they've got going on. We've got a pretty sweet system where I think we've got 7 shoppers on our team right now. And a spreadsheet where any of us can go in anytime, shop anytime we want, and grab what we need when we're out shopping for your family or whatever, plus a couple of people who that's kind of their main full-time gig. And it's a beautiful model. We've got so the tools are there, and where it can be a pretty simple, straightforward thing. And I think you'll hire a neighborhood kid, pay someone $10-12 an hour that's willing to do some work, drive around, maybe a little more than that, depending on the part of the country you're in, and turn them loose. Just let them do the tedious parts. Okay, yeah, because you're ready to grow. Love that. You are ready to grow.
Right. I'm very much ready to grow. And I see everyone that's truly successful at it. They usually have a team or at least a person or two that help them with these things. And a lot use prep centers. I'd like to keep it in-house because standards can slip. And I want to ensure we get complacent, right? We have a good run, things are okay, no issues. You start skimping on something, you drop your standards a little bit here, a little bit there, and then so I'd like to make sure that is maintained, right? At least until my account has a little bit more history and more growth. And I don't want to be like one of these big companies that they get you hooked with good customer service. And then once you're there, it's like, bam, gone. Right. Mm-hmm. So I do like to maintain standards, and I'd like to keep that part in house. So it has to be something that I can oversee in some way. So that's one reason why I do not outsource prep. I thought about it. I've been so tempted. There's so many great prep centers out there. I just, for my own peace of mind, I prefer to keep it in-house. And that is the number one place that I need help with. And luckily, my husband is helping with that now. So I was thinking of, we were talking about FBA versus FBM, right? And about basically how I decide what's what.
Right.
And so then I was thinking when you're new, right, you always think you look for a certain ROI, you look for a certain profit, right? And it goes back to the old money versus time. Which one do you have more of? When you're new, you probably have more time than money. And then once you're doing it a while, you have less time than money. So to me, looking at the way I shop and the products that I choose, I don't necessarily look for a certain ROI or a certain profit margin. I look more at the dollar amount, right? So I have this replen, or it's pretty much dying now, but it was this replen that was easy prep. It was making me $2.73 a pop. But if I could keep it in stock enough, and if I could send enough of it in, I had calculated that if the average daily sales stay the same or they drop by 5, I can still pay my mortgage off just that one replen every single month. And then I was looking at that and tracking sales. And when sales slowed down, I basically made a challenge for myself to find another comparable product, find another replen that will make up the difference, right? And maybe pay for my utilities. It's just kind of make it a game, right? When sourcing and when deciding on the products. And to me, that's challenging. It keeps me going. And I think it might do it for others too. It's today I want to send, let's say my electric bill is $200 a month. Today I need to sit down and I'm not going to get up from this computer until I find a replen that will pay my electric bill. And tomorrow we're paying the water bill. And the day after we're paying for new shoes. And the day after we're getting a bigger car. And let's see if we can afford a $700 car payment. And to me, I think making it into a game makes it a lot easier, maybe more determined to find replens for new people, because that is something that I have a lot of, I've had a lot of newer sellers in the group reach out to me with just all sorts of questions, but mainly, how do you find products? I can't find anything. And it's, and I've actually built some great relationships with a few of them. And that is the number one question. I can't find any product. Where do you find product? It's everywhere.
Yeah, it really is. You're
right.
asking, I having heard that question literally thousands of times at this point, they're, as we kind of already discussed, they're asking the wrong question. It's what they should be doing is saying, what strategy should I be studying that opens up this world of products you guys keep talking about? Not where can I go find a good product? That's the, that's I'm trying to think of an equivalent from another field of study, but it's below the 101 level type question. It just tells us you haven't really been paying attention yet to what it is we offer around here. Right. What course should I study? What strategy do I need to understand so that when I walk through any grocery store or a retail store in the world or get online, that this stuff is just jumping out at me one after the other? How do I get myself there? That's the question you should be asking yourself. And people who are asking that question and their mind is in that field, I love helping those folks out. And we help anyone. We love seeing new sellers come in, but I've been doing this 15 years and being asked, it's kind of like the people who contact me, old high school friends or whatever, like, hey, how about we go to lunch sometime so I can pick your brain a couple hours? I want to learn how to make money online like you do. And I'm like, man, I've got a better way. There's a better way for both of us to spend our time that day. I guarantee it, and let's have fun and hang out sometime. Sure. It's good to see old friends, but that's not the best use of either one of our time for me to start from the beginning. And like the courses are there, the content's there for a reason. Right. Price point's right. So I love how big of an advocate you've been for the stuff that we've created around here. And it's the evidence that it works. And you're sharing some real gold with us today too. Early on when you were talking about being driven and pushing yourself and the 80-hour a week, and you've kind of translated that over now to what you're doing now, I have a challenge. And I haven't gone back and listened to our other podcasts, but I remember something I asked you about and told you.
Take Sunday off.
A day a week. It could be
Yes.
Saturday, it could be Sunday, it could
Right.
be Thursday now that everybody's
Right.
home, but you need a day a week to just, are you doing that yet? I'm just curious because I'll tell you this, Cris, if you're not, you will be eventually. And you'll come back to me and say, oh, Jim, you were so right. Because your health will make you do it. So I'm not just beating up on you, Cris, but for the benefit of everyone else out there. And I don't know what your answer is. Are you doing that yet or not? Where are you at?
I caught myself taking some afternoons off, and
that's a step in the right direction. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I get to the point of exhaustion, and that afternoon slump. I don't know, maybe you don't experience it.
No,
I know I do.
It's that 3 to 4 p.m. I think I'm going to eat some chocolate.
Yes. Yes. Me too. And what happens sometimes is I grab the chocolate on my way to bed, and then I lay in bed on TikTok or read a book or watch YouTube for a couple of hours and eat my chocolate or my Chips Ahoy or whatever snacks my kid is hiding. So, and that's some pretty good downtime, but I prefer to do some type of work in the morning, including, I don't think there's been a single morning that I haven't done some work since my 20s.
Well, how about it just a challenge? Just a challenge. And if you could figure out a way to make it interesting, I don't know, Cris, but I'd just like to challenge you to take a full day, sunset to sunset or sunrise to sunrise, however you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And just not do anything that advances your business, including, if possible, not think about it, which is a virtually impossible task for those of us who have our
But the FOMO.
Not even check my stats. Okay, FOMO? You can check your stats.
Yeah, but
it just see if it doesn't energize the following 2-3 days in a way that you've never experienced before, because it's not a net loss. Done properly, it's actually a net gain. The Chick-fil-A example, the most profitable fast food chain in world history, they're closed on Sunday. 24 hours, no access to chicken. They're the most profitable, right? How is that? It doesn't make sense. Would they be more profitable if they opened up that 7th day? I don't think so. I think it's built into us. And just give it a shot. And I'm not just beating up on you. I'm talking to the other 800 people who will hear this over the next 8 months and think to themselves, I should probably do that. And to myself too. I haven't perfected it by any means. It's I'll still find myself jumping in and oh, this can't wait till Monday. I got it.
Right. And it's, just, I don't know. It's the fear of missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. But it energizes. What I've found is if you do it right, it energizes. It's that give and take, that, breathe in, breathe out, that, just that rhythm. You get yourself into that rhythm versus full speed ahead, constantly going in the same direction, go, 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 sleep a few minutes so I can just wake up and go, 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 go. Again, I've seen it play out long enough now that I know how that story ends. It ends with you being forced to take 3 months off because you're burnout, sick, done, can't think, need a break. Right. And what happens during that 3 months? You lose about 8 months worth of progress, right? And you add it up in your mind and that's about the same as having taken a day a week off the last 10 years. You know what I'm saying? It catches up to you over time. So
I do.
Take it or leave it. It just, I've seen it enough. I've actually been contacted by people in our community who I've had these conversations with a decade ago and encouraged them in this direction. And in some cases, single guys, let's say, they just went. They're I'm going to make as much money as I can, as fast as I can. I don't have time for relationships. I don't have time for distractions. I don't have time for friendship. I'm just going to go. And I told them a more harsh version of what I'm just encouraging you to take a day a week off. I told them that does not end well about 5 to 7 years from now. It just doesn't, because you're going to have a nice money in the bank. You're going to be burnt out on whatever it is that you're doing. You're going to look around and be I don't have any friends, and all my friends are married with kids, and it's awkward for me to go hang out with them now. Like they're in a different stage of life, right? Like you're losing so much going that pound, pound, pound. This is a slightly different version of that. Let's just pound forward. And again, Cris, I'm not beating you up. I take it upon myself sometimes to just challenge and coach and tweak people, even when they don't necessarily want it. You didn't ask me to do this today. And
oh no, that's
thank
okay.
you for being gracious enough to allow me to say it to you and to others.
Absolutely. No,
I've experienced the benefit of it, is what it is.
Right. One, I was talking about developing relationships with other sellers, and one of the most fruitful, a few months ago, I was contacted by this other seller, and we just started a conversation. His name is Michalowicz. He was just on your podcast recently.
Michael, right.
Yeah. And Mike and I have, become, I think we're pretty friends at this point. And he's a scout leader. So he has to take 2-3 day weekends and for scouting events. And it's, and I always think, I would love to go camping. And so I'm thinking maybe we'll go camping. But of course, there needs to be camping for me is more of a, glamping. That's my idea.
But just the benefit of putting this thing down, right?
Yes.
For several, and you felt this before. We've all kind of accidentally left our phone at home and like, oh, I forgot my phone.
Oh my God.
But then you find yourself like, this is kind of nice. I haven't thought about, checked in, texted, been notified of anything for several hours. And there's a power to it for sure. There's a power to it. So yeah, it's me just sharing what works, for what's worked for me, I should say. And so for so many others as well. But well, you've shared some beautiful lessons today. And I'm always encouraged, just seeing the way you pop into the forums and sharing your business and your strategy. You've become quite a leader in our community already. And thank you for helping all those new people that reach out to you. And it's just such a cooperative, fun, giving, open-handed community. And you certainly embody that in so many ways. So thank you for that. Hey, sorry for the interruption. We'll get back to the show in just a second, but I wanted to throw in a quick reminder about our fantastic sponsor, Payoneer. That's Payoneer. Payoneer.com/funding, up to $750,000 without a credit check. If you're an Amazon or Walmart seller, great terms. Go check out what they have to offer our community. If you're trying to grow your business and the thing holding you back is capital, they're a great place to look to solve that problem fast. Very flexible repayment terms as well, which is super cool. Payoneer.com. Check them out, guys. Back to the show. Thank you for helping all those new people that reach out to you. And it's just such a cooperative, fun, giving, open-handed community. And you certainly embody that in so many ways. So thank you for that. But what else do you have on your mind? Any other lessons you wanted to share? Anything else that you think that might benefit the listeners, or any other topics you want to kind of tackle together and think through? I promise I won't beat you up anymore.
You're fine. No, and I actually need to hear that. And that's one of our goals is know that my husband pitched in. I'm obviously not going to take a vacation during Q4. I mean, I couldn't live with myself. But this is now I just entered my second year, right? So this is my second November. I had last November. This is my second November. So now I'm still a rookie, right? In a way. But I don't really consider myself one. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at the business, and I'm pretty good at my business, right? I built something that works for me. And now my husband is jumping in and helping, which will basically free up so much time. And I've noticed when you double the effort, the results are exponentially bigger. So just because,
Synergy, right? Yep.
Yeah. And it's prep, for example. Yeah. To prep something by yourself, let's say it takes an hour. If you add another person, it doesn't take it down to 30 minutes. It actually takes it down to about 20 or 15. It just moves so much faster.
That's right.
And that being said, one of our goals is to start taking some weekends off, to do things with the family, to go places. And that is a goal. That's something that's going to happen. And one of my challenges right now is I need a larger vehicle. And we're going to do that. That is another goal that's going to happen here in the next month or so. And with this larger vehicle, why not get a camper so we can take some summer family vacations with a camper, stop in the city, source for a couple of days, then go out and have some fun, and then spend a couple of days working, and then go out and have some fun, which brings me back to hiring someone local here to manage the assets or the business at home, right? So It's there's so much room for growth, and everyone that's new and is currently wondering where to find a product, they can't find product. That is just such a temporary problem. That's to me, go into a store and just take a photo of an aisle. Just take a photo of an aisle, just maybe one section or two sections, and then go home, split your computer screen in two, or even pull it up on your phone and blow up that photo. Just zoom in. And then what's the first product in the corner? What does it say? Go to Amazon.com, type the brand and type the general product, and see what comes up. And even
you're
though
not looking for that exact product, you're looking for what all comes up when I type in the brand name. And if it's Campbell's green beans, I type in Campbell's beans. Let's just see what comes up, right?
Yeah. And like products are most likely going to be located in the same section, and that section is in your photo. So you scroll and you have, like you said, green beans, right? And you scroll down and you see, I don't know, something else. I don't cook, whatever have peas. Let's say peas. So you see peas there. You're not looking for peas, you're looking for beans, but you see that 3 cans of beans are selling for $9, but these peas are selling for $18. So there's a discrepancy there, right? So let's see how much those peas actually cost. And you see that they cost about the same as the beans. So that's clearly a pretty profitable listing. Of course, go in, dig into the numbers. And I also get a lot of questions about tools and RevSeller. And I think most of us use RevSeller. But before I got RevSeller, I did the same thing in Inventory Lab. I would take the ASIN and I would go into Inventory Lab and paste it in it's called Scout, I think. Scout is the feature. And it gives you the option to scout to see the numbers for that item for both FBM and FBA. So for anyone that's new and doesn't want to spend money on yet another tool, this is something that most people already use Inventory Lab starting their first month. So that's another way to do it. And I did it like that for about 3 months until
you're using Keepa as well, I would assume, as your base.
Oh, Keepa is if there's anything that you put money on, that would be Keepa. There's not.
Yeah, if you could only have one tool in your pocket, for the
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the one thing that I don't think you can do it without.
Yeah, because they really scrape. And I spent what version? I think it was episode 369, I believe. I'll stick in the show notes where I talked about Keepa. I reference it all the time. Why we love Keepa. Why do we talk about it all the time? But I'll stick links to all of these things in the show notes for people who are furiously jotting down notes. You just went on a great run there of great tools and ideas for sure. But it's not complicated. It's fairly simple to grasp. Right. But then doing the work is where the work kicks in.
Right.
And the day-to-day grind of like, you got this stuff now, you got to send it in. It's going to sell when you send it in, but you do have to actually put it in a box and put tape on that box and label it and send it into Amazon. Like there's work here that either you or someone else has to do. And I think that's where you guys are going is, if I was just to kind of predict based on what I typically see, your motivation level, the cooperation in the family, the awareness that, hey, we need to add some people, maybe a virtual assistant here, a couple of shoppers there, a prepper. I think you're sitting on a $1.5 million business in the coming year that's twice as profitable for you as what you've done already in your first year. I just kind of think that's where you're heading, barring any unforeseen circumstances of health challenges and things. And I think that really even is if you take Sundays off. I'm factoring that in. Actually, that's why the number's bigger in my mind than it would be otherwise. Is I think it's just, taking some family trips and things. I'm excited. I can't wait to check in with you in another year and just see if I was right.
Absolutely. And, it's in order to grow the team and grow the business, I'm now looking at some warehouse space because, my house is just, and, I'm glad I'm the wife in this family, because if I had been the husband and I made the house this disaster, it probably wouldn't be good for any husband. So yes, I'm really glad I'm the wife.
Yeah, the wives could get away with some unique things at times.
Absolutely, yes, we can.
Is that how that works? Yeah,
absolutely, it's how it works.
You said it, not me.
It might not be the most political correct thing to say, but it's how it works.
Most truth isn't these days, right?
Absolutely. It's 2 days a week. My living room, there's a trail of boxes being shipped out, and they go from one end of the fireplace along the bookshelves all the way around the couches. And it's
what is your son? What does your 11-year-old think of? Like, how does he process it? What do you tell him? Where's he at? I'm just curious. Like, I've heard all these stories. How's it in your house?
My son?
Yeah.
His it's just what mom does, and
it's normal.
Obviously, you can't say anything to mom. So,
well, yeah, but like if someone, if a friend of his, like, what's this stuff? What would he say? Do you know? Like, what would he say?
It's just my mom's stuff, probably.
Yeah,
it's my mom's business. Mm-hmm. It's something like that. But it's that's not it's not usually like that. But once or twice a week when we send in shipments, it's like.
The reason I ask is because our house was that way. Our kids have grown up with my stuff, business stuff around the house. And it actually turned out to be, I think, a very positive thing for them to have experienced of they can see and touch and feel. This is the work we're doing. If we were on a farm, you can see and touch and feel what it is your dad does. You can't so much do that anymore with many of the jobs.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. With this, you can now. It's like, it's very right there. Yeah, that's what we do. And that toy, it's not for me. It's for another little boy somewhere else. And because their mom and dad are going to buy it from my mom and dad. And those lessons, it's just an infinite great lesson.
Absolutely.
So encourage you, like, job well done. I would prefer that over a perfectly immaculate house and the kids are kind of clueless about what you go off and do 9 hours a day. Right? I would prefer this scenario greatly over that.
I do miss my perfectly immaculate house, though, at times.
You'll get it back.
It's constant. Boxes in, boxes out. UPS, FedEx, Amazon, they're here all day, every day. So it's, it's kind of it's constant work. So I really need, some space. And I think I've been resistant to growth. And that's a major part of getting to the next point, right? Or to the next level. It's having to get out of my own way and get the space and get the people. And I could see explosive growth doing that. And it's that's probably what's going to have to happen early next year.
Yeah.
And it's and one other thing, when we spoke in January, I was talking about the private label, the pants losing model, and I remember telling you back then that I thought of private label as something that you grow into, something that happens organically. And I'm finding myself thinking about that I probably think about just because I have product ideas and I have bundle ideas and I have all these ideas now. But at the same time, I think of private label as something that I would need someone else to do for me. So that is something that I am thinking about hiring someone to do the entire thing from A to Z. The only The only thing that I want to have to touch is to validate the product and to say yay or nay. I don't want to know about the manufacturer. I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to deal with shipping. Here's the money. What's the product? So let
me expand just a little bit. Your definition of private label is, and it has such a vast range of ways we can talk about it. But ultimately I want to have a product that no one else can sell. It's profitable, right? Well, the lowest hanging fruit ways as we start to step into that model, and you're positioned perfectly for it, will be things like our soon coming provenbrandbuilding.com course. All of our students get that for free, by the way. If you're a proven Amazon course student, you're going to get it for free. All our coaching students get it for free. But that's just, you mentioned bundling. If you get a creative bundle and you get it brand registered, or maybe like we heard in a show recently, Richard on team with Rich and Shelley Potter, let's stick a recipe card in, or, something that makes it uniquely yours and brand registered is kind of the icing on the cake where no one else can even attempt to duplicate it, or Amazon's got on your side at that point.
Right.
Sometimes you'll stick a unique item in there and other people will sell the same bundle without the unique item. And then you got to complain. And sometimes Amazon responds and sometimes they don't. But if you're brand registered, you get that extra seal. And that's what we're going to teach is, how about just a creative bundle of brand name products? You know what brand names fly off the shelf in your Replen inventory. Mix a few of them together.
Right.
On a way that hasn't been done yet.
Get a GTI exemption. And
a box that says, Cris Beam's goodies or whatever, on the box, and it's brand registered. It's yours now. Boom, you're off to the races. And you've got, I was just talking with, I don't know if you heard the most recent episode that dropped with Richard Clough again, but he said they just sent in several hundred units, I think, of a brand new ASIN that just took off for them. It's a private label, really, by definition. It's a product no one else can sell, but they didn't have to go invent anything or trademark a new product or get it approved by the FDA or, it's stuff they pulled off a shelf in a unique bundle, and it's protected now. So I think that's where you're going. And you're positioned very well to manage that. And it integrates very well into your team as well that you're going to be building. So I'm excited to see that roll out for the community.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you. But again, that's something that you need to think through and need to come up with. There's, steps that need to be taken. And again, it goes back to time. So as much as I can outsource the current, whatever anyone else do, whatever it is that I do that someone else can do, I need to start outsourcing that, because this is not, it's really impeding growth at this point.
It's not sustainable. Yeah. And it slows your growth. The way that I've phrased it frequently is constantly be asking yourself, am I the only one that could be doing what I'm doing right now? Am I the best person? Or not am I the best person? Is there anyone else that could be doing what I'm doing right now? And you'll find it's a pretty short list of things that only you can do. Right?
I agree.
As you chip away at
agree.
That. And then ultimately have you ever read that book, E-Myth by Michael Gerber by any chance? E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Probably not.
You might enjoy it. Do you do much reading?
It's my number one hobby.
Really? Awesome.
Okay, only one.
give me a good business book recommendation here in a minute, but I'm going to tell you, make a good case for this E-Myth book for you and maybe for some other listeners too, because the thing that he dives into in that book and does a masterful job of is he kind of tells it from a fictional story standpoint, but makes the lessons as he goes. But let's say you were really good at making pies. Everyone's like, oh, you should have a pie business. You should have a pie business. So you finally open up your pie business and you discover very quickly running a successful business, selling pies has very little to do with actually making good pies. That's like very little of it. Kind of like finding product has very little to do with actually being a successful Replen seller. It's building the system, managing the system. It's your ability to lead. It's your ability to make good decisions based on facts and data, right? Like that's what you're really getting into as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
It's called the E-Myth. The entrepreneur myth is, if I'm a talented technician, well, I can run a good business. No, that's not what it takes. Good business owners need talented technicians. Good talented technicians aren't necessarily good business owners, though.
Exactly.
Right?
Very, very true.
You really enjoy it.
Very true. Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into it. And so I was getting...
Do you have any books for me? Anything come to mind? Not to
Well,
put you on
speaking
the
of
spot.
pie, have you read The Pumpkin Plan?
I have not. I've heard of it. Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, I'm actually it's one of the things on my reading list. I haven't gone through the whole thing yet. So, but it just got me thinking of The Pumpkin Plan when you mentioned pie. But I'm the what's it called? The Profit First for E-commerce entrepreneurs.
Of
That's
course, very familiar
something
with that. Mm-hmm.
you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is another thing that I'm working through. Finances are a passion of mine. It's something that I enjoy playing Monopoly
Mm-hmm.
with my money, and that is I was speaking of a getaway plan, of an exit plan, of getaway money, and I think that's I think everyone should. I know a lot of sellers use the profit first system. I use a very modified version of that I basically have myself. But basically, the important thing is to have buckets and assign funds to those buckets, and each bucket has a name, right? You have the tax bucket, and you have the paycheck bucket, and you have the retirement bucket, and you have your escape or your backup plan bucket, and I think that is something so important for old business owners. And we run our business on someone else's platform, right? And that is something that keeps me up at night. I worry about that so much. And I was actually driving how you drive sometimes and you just kind of, your mind just wanders off and then you wonder how you got it home.
Like, how many red lights did I go through? Hopefully
yes,
none.
right. So I was thinking that I got this trademark infringement alert. Anyway, then those worry me so much, right? And I was thinking, what else do I find scarier in life than dealing with account health issues? And I was thinking, it was right there with something happening, my child, death,
health issues. And yeah, it's that concern.
But not all health issues, like cancer, anything else was like, I basically had this list, and account health issues were at the very top. Which is, I don't know. Well,
let's talk about that a little bit.
Thinking
right? Is from the vantage point of I'd like to tackle that from two angles. One, is that a realistic fear? And two, what can be done about it, no matter where you put it on the fear scale, right? And we could do a whole episode, and we have done entire episodes on this. It comes up frequently. But where I always like to start when I hear that one is, and you know this at this point, Cris, you've been in our community for a year. So you've probably heard me say this. So this may not even be for your sake as much as it is for others. But we've had 7,000 coaching students at this point. We've had tens of thousands of people go through our courses and content. Our community is currently 70,000 people. At any time, any of them could step into the group and go, hey, guess what? I just got permanently suspended. I've been trying to get unsuspended for 6 weeks and it's not looking good, guys. How many times do you see that happen? Ever. Because the entire time I've been doing this, I know of 5 permanent suspensions. 3 of them, they were just stupid. They could have fixed it had they wanted to. They didn't. They ignored a pile of IP complaints. A couple of the circumstances, the other ones, I don't feel like I ever got the full story. But they're done with Amazon now. They went on. And in all cases, they're all doing great at this point, doing other things. So it's not the end of the world. But your odds are very, very, very thin that it will happen. If you are suspended, you're going to get it back over 96, 97% of the time. It's going to happen because they're really trying to throw out the bad guys. That's all they're trying to do. I've met with the guy who's the head of the department that kicks people off of Amazon. And he said, who we're trying to get are these Chinese-based companies that set up through the US, a fake company, and sell fake products and try to take the money and run. And there's tens of thousands of those attempts daily. That's who we're trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
The good people in your community that are building legitimate businesses that accidentally get caught in the net, apologize for the inconvenience, but they're going to be just fine, right? That's the basic take, right? So hopefully that puts you at ease a little bit on that front.
And that right here is the number one reason why I've been so reluctant to sign a lease on a warehouse and hire people. And because I've had this fear in the back of my mind. And, now I've had, I think inception to date, I'm close to 400, that's been almost 13 and a half months, 14 months. I'm close to 440,000 in sales so far. And I have a good track record, right? I had maybe like 3 IP complaints that were resolved immediately. I have, great customer feedback. Everything is great. So now I'm starting to relax a little bit, right?
A little more confident.
Right. So now I can confidently say, go and look back at my history. And now I have a history, right? And now there's a little bit more, but
and that means a lot. That means a whole lot.
Right.
But maybe not as much as we'd like to think it does. Because Amazon, they're going to put you in a category of a bad guy who's trying to get away with stuff that you shouldn't have been doing, selling counterfeit product, for example, intentionally taking the money and run. They're going to get rid of you, whether you've been around 8 years, 30 years. Right. Now, I think once you get up into the really big boy territory and you're selling like multiple millions and you're skirting the edges of their policy constantly on a good number of products. And I mean, there's accounts out there that get multiple IP complaints daily, right? And they're just going back and forth daily with Amazon. And some of them have permanently lost, but you dig into those cases and what it was, what caused it, what was behind it. It's territories we never even dream of playing in, right? With the stuff that we teach. So you really are in very, very safe waters. And I say this to some, even if you were about 3 months in, you were in equally safe waters then as you are now. And you'll be in barely safer waters 5 years from now if trends hold, based on my observations of the industry at large. Who's getting suspended and why? We pay attention to these things. But let's talk about what can be done about it. And that comes down to diversifying your income, building relationships, learning that you can sell this stuff other places besides just Amazon, building your brand that can be sold through your own website, right? Other opportunities to teach, to educate, other income streams. Like, a lot of times our coaches on our team will get into coaching and they'll realize the benefit necessarily isn't getting paid. It's, I've got great relationship now. You mentioned Michael earlier, with people that is a very relieving thing to think, man, I've got a list of great selling products. If I just started selling them through someone else, I got to share. I'm 80% where I am right now in a few weeks, right? Like you start having those, so relationships become this, and those things take time. If you're in the grind, prepping and shipping and shopping and packing and boom, boom, boom. And then you'll wake up one day and you don't have any relationships and you haven't really thought of these things necessarily. That can be a scary thing. But as you free up your time and you build these relationships and maybe you start doing some training and you hold a local workshop and say, hey, I'll help local companies learn how to use Amazon. It's free. Anybody can come. And out of that pops 2 or 3 companies and you're helping them get on Amazon and you're getting a 20% cut of everything they sell suddenly. Like, okay, there's a stream of income that has nothing to do with my Amazon business, right?
And that is something that, again, once I free up some time, I can absolutely, I'd absolutely love to dig into some more because so many ideas, right? So many things to be done and so little time to do them all. And growing and expanding and actually building a team. I thought this was going to, I thought I was going to keep this pretty small just because of, you get people, you deal with additional headaches. You get, the more you grow, right, there's additional headaches that come with that. But it truly is at this point, I feel completely handcuffed because of the lack of time. And I cannot split myself in all those directions. And
Yep.
there's so many ideas and so much to do, right? And so many products. And you can't get to them all as one person or two people. So yes, building a team and getting additional help is absolutely the goal, along with taking some time off. Yes.
Yes. That helps you connect hey, have you ever done this before, been like doing something that's just fun, Cris? And there's no right or wrong answer here, but this is how it happens for me. And I've talked to others, it happens too, where I'm just doing something fun, something distracting, maybe watching a ball game or taking a walk or, out with the kids doing something. And suddenly a problem just gets solved in my head. I wasn't even thinking about it. Just boom, like my subconscious pieced it together, right?
Yes.
It doesn't happen when we're nose to the grindstone. Never, almost never does it happen when we're plugging away, pounding away at the problem in front of us. It happens when we give our brain
when we step away from the problem. That's when it happens.
Exactly. I think that's one of the benefits of not only taking that day off a week that we've been talking about, but one of the benefits of freeing yourself up slowly over time, doing the things that only you can do slowly over time. Now you can spend time intentionally doing those things and learn to harness that power and prioritize all these ideas into a list of here's what's next, right? Those things take time. But you're always going to be growing. There's always going to be a new challenge around the corner. There's always going to be a new fear popping up on the list that we have to resist and push away to the side. That's why I call this business building warriors. It's because it's a battle. And sometimes the battle is internal, sometimes it's external, but if there's always a battle to be won and to be fought. But doing it with a family, what can be more rewarding?
Absolutely. And I do want to hire my son to help in the family business. And the reason for that, not only to teach him the value of how hard work and actually how you get paid for your efforts and your time, but also with earned income, you can put money into a Roth IRA. Can you imagine putting a part-time income? So let's say he works for us, let's say 14 hours a week, right? That maybe $10 an hour, and puts $100, $200 per month into a Roth IRA, right? That's basically going to be, he'll be able to take that money out at retirement or at 59 and a half, tax-free.
It's a million. I think, what is it, like $10 at 10% annual, $10 a week, starting when you're 12, 15, something like that.
Yeah.
$10 a week at 10% interest or 8%. I can't remember what it's $1 million when you're 55 or something.
Yes.
I mean, it's a tiny, tiny bit of money, but if you start early, you get to take advantage of that curve. So, and you get that tax deduction too. Pay him well. He's a great tax deduction.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. And it's that's another goal. That's so many goals, right? And so many plans and so much to do and so little time to do them all. And that's the next goal. So maybe next time we speak, it's going to be, 5-6 employees and the warehouse.
It'll be growth for sure.
Yeah.
Have you read The Compound Effect? I'll give you a quick lesson as we wrap this one up from The Compound Effect if you haven't read it.
A book called I know a lot about the compound effect in investing, but not
exactly. Yeah, and it applies to a lot of other areas of life as well, for sure.
Right.
But one of the lessons I picked and I pull from that book frequently is, I think having a fairly more similar personality type to you than I think you may realize, just having heard you speak from the heart, that we dramatically overestimate the amount of stuff we can get done in a day. We wake up and we're like, I'm going to get all 18 of these things done today. I'm determined. Nothing can stop me. I am going to plow. We dramatically overestimate any given day what we're capable of. People who do that and it's just human nature. We all do it, but especially driven people, we dramatically underestimate what it means to slowly chip away a little bit every day, and what it gets accomplished over a year. It's just a tiny bit of discipline in tiny applied ways. And we underestimate what that can equal, where it's hard for us to do the math on that. It's just as hard for us to do the math on that as it is for us to slow ourselves down and be more realistic about. Jeff Bezos says he makes 2 or 3 good decisions a day.
Right.
Now, I'm sure it hasn't always been that way. I'm sure he stayed up till 4 a.m, 8 days in a row, several times building his business. But the goal is to get to the point where you're making 2 or 3 good decisions a day, and you've got good people making those decisions. And that's where we got to get. Otherwise, we grind ourselves down and we don't end up building something that we should have built in the end.
That's true. Very
And I'm
true.
challenging myself with everything I've told you today. Trust me, I'm challenging myself too, because I am not there on literally any of it. But I'm a lot closer than I was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
For sure.
That's where I'm heading. So
right. And relationships are another challenge for me, just because it takes time, right? You have to. My best friend sent me a text 3 or 4 days ago. I think about it probably every 10 minutes. I have yet to respond.
mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those things go on the back burner. And it's sometimes the things that matter the most end up going on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, and then there's also business relationships, right? I should probably take the time to go take a box of donuts to my local Walmart store manager, right? Or to maybe call a couple of suppliers. And it's just time that I don't take for these extremely important tasks. And if anyone takes anything away from this, is get your priorities straight.
Yeah.
Because we're stuck in the daily grind, and we're, get the stuff in, get the stuff out. Let's go. And the most important things end up being on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And then that's something that can probably affect a person and their business more than anything else in a negative manner.
I think we look back over our shoulder with regret if we don't handle those things properly, and that's a worse fate than not having grown our business as big as we wanted to, right? Having those regrets. It's the best teachers. I just had this thought listening to you. I think the best teachers are the people that are teaching themselves as they teach. And I think that's who you are. You're saying these things, and I'm just like, she's teaching me, she's teaching the audience, she's teaching herself at the same time.
I am.
The challenging thought I'd like to leave you with on this topic would be, the relationships are the asset, ultimately.
Right.
Those relationships are the asset. So the business, it has the benefit of producing all this, the wealth and that we need, the things we need to pay for our family, to do things that we need and pay for the food. But the relationships are the asset that we have if we're doing it right, once it's all done. Right. There's a reason, the story of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge, we don't want to drift into being that guy. Right. Why not? And it's a masterfully told tale. For those of us who are driven entrepreneurs, we don't want to be that. Well, what is it about that guy that it's different from me? He's just driven in money and no relationships. And how can you have this success in business while building those relationships? Well, you make the relationships the asset, and the money still comes. That's the beauty of it. Is I had a conversation just a few days ago with a friend I've known for years, and we finally took the time to get together and talk, and it unlocked a potential multi-million-dollar deal for both of us over the next 5 years. We just had never taken the time to sit and chat about it. And boom, there it is now. And it's in play. The relationship is the asset, and it leads to financial abundance.
Right. It's, for those of us, I'm an introvert. Nothing makes me happy than to sit home, either on the computer or read a book or on my tablet, and, the world leaves me alone. And there's this meme that I thought it was so hilarious and so true. How introverts make friends? 10% they don't. 90% an extrovert finds them and adopts them. And that's basically
funny.
That's basically me, is someone reaching out to me, and they keep reaching out, and then you develop a relationship, and then all of a sudden you take someone, you take an introvert, and they're a totally different person. They bloom. That's me. I'm an introvert, but if we become friends, you'll never get rid of me. So it's so I think different people, and the way, I think we just basically need to those of us that are more introverted, which actually I think there's quite a few of us in the community.
Yeah, I think we're about 85% introverts, self-proclaimed introverts in the community.
Right. So I think we need to make ourselves do the things that we don't want to do sometimes. And I have a hard time doing that, but it really goes back to being disciplined and what I call it, eat the frog, which is basically, first thing in the morning, like do the one thing that you don't want to do, the one thing that you dread the most. And I try to teach that to my son. And to me, that would be to basically pick up the phone. I can't tell you how long it's been since I made a phone call. Weeks.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear my podcast episode about the superpower that entrepreneurs lack that would completely change your life?
I'm not sure.
Picking up the phone 2 or 3 times a week, forcing yourself to make a phone call to a contact, a vendor, maybe someone that you only deal with by email. Pick up the phone.
That's me.
And because the conversation you have, I'll even tell you exactly what you should say is, hey, what are you working on and how can I help? Those are the 2 power questions. I got them from John Maxwell. Great leaders ask great questions.
Mm-hmm.
And you just pick up the phone. Hey, what are you working on? I'd love to hear and you make it about them. But what you discover when you do that is they've got a gold mine for you in their back pocket. They don't know what to do with. And suddenly they're there for you. And it wouldn't be had you not had that conversation. And so you're not doing it for the financial gain. You don't want to do it out of selfish reasons. You truly need to find it in a place where you make their problems important to you. And that comes through. And that's when it all opens up and you're both better off than you were before suddenly and almost inexplicably. It's like that's the way things were designed. And I believe they were designed that way. Business is for relationships, not the other way around.
Right.
But yeah, we've got to force ourselves to do it. It's a discipline. It really is for some of us a discipline matter. But picking up the phone 2 or 3 times a week, I would even say if you want to triple your income, triple the number of times you're getting on the phone every week. That's probably the number one thing I'd tell you to do, actually. Because people are the key to advancing your life in every way. Health, physical fitness, running with somebody, working out with somebody, you're going to be more likely to stick with it, right? Relationships are the key forward in all these important areas. And again, I'm talking to me as I'm talking to you. I'm not the expert, but I'm very intentional about these things. And I do push myself. And I'm an introvert as well, but there's no excuse to be shy as an introvert. We never have an excuse.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No excuse to be shy. It just, to me, it goes back to discipline. It's something that I don't enjoy doing, so I'm just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. But you look back and you never regret it afterwards, do you?
Well,
never is a big word, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I was thinking, like, if I ever have to call 911, can you text 911?
Oh, that's funny.
Because I will not pick up the phone to make a call. And it's just, that's, and it goes back to disciplines, there's a lot of things that we have to do that we don't always feel like doing, right? We just, we have to do it. It's discipline. It's, and that is one area where I do lack quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
I think you need to add it to your to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to text your friend right now too.
Probably so. And it's exactly. So yeah, it's, but a lot of problems will be resolved. And again, growing a team and coming up with the right system to work for us, for my husband and I to actually do things together. Mm-hmm. And in a more cohesive manner, right? I think that's going to be crucial. And doing it with him and going through the challenges with him then will help me come up with a better system to train a new employee and another new employee later on.
Yeah,
so
it's going to come.
What I'm working on now.
Very methodical. And I hope Cris, I'm here. If you never want to text or check in or bounce an idea off of me or teach me a lesson,
Thank you.
I'm here because, this really, we're recording this podcast and a lot of people are going to listen to it, but I think we both can feel the kind of the benefit. If it was just us having hung out today and said the things we said, there was tremendous benefit here. But the fact that it was recorded and captured for the benefit of others, that's a huge bonus. But we need this as entrepreneurs, as business builders, as parents, we need this. So I think we both recognize that. And I think we both challenge each other forward in a great way today. And I appreciate your transparency. Not all of our episodes go into kind of the, psychological, the benefits of relational type. Sometimes it's just like, hey, use Keepa to do this and push these buttons and make more money. And it's fun to kind of hang out and just get to know the great people. And I would consider you a leader in our community for sure. And the people who are doing this business, changing their life, changing the lives of others. We don't know the ripple effect of this content that we've created today. I mean, you could dramatically change someone's life if applied. So
and I hope so. I'm usually a very technical, very bullet pointed person. And now this was basically like a chat on the couch with an old friend over, 4 p.m. coffee. So
exactly. And I think that's the way business is supposed to be. I really do. The technical part, we can figure that out. There's a solution for every challenge. It's the relational side that I think us introverts, us type A driven introverts, we need to work on that. So, but there's plenty of great content too. This is going to be a fan favorite, I think, for those who listen to this show frequently. And but I've taken a lot of your time. Go hang out with your family. They're probably home from school by now, right? And text your friend, okay?
I will absolutely do that. But first, we need to ship some FBM orders. So
yeah, okay. We'll do a little bit of that first. All right. Well, Cris, it's been fun hanging out with you today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank your family.
Same here.
For loaning you to us, to the community. But no, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. It really has. I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a second and thank all of them as well for hanging out. Cris and I would have had a great chat with or without you today. But hey, we're certainly glad that you joined us and hopefully you benefited. We'd love if you left a feedback of some kind, a 5-star thumbs up, whatever you're listening. And most people don't realize that we're on YouTube, which we are. So if you want to kind of see Cris and see us hanging out today, although there wasn't many visuals besides us sitting in our offices. But we are on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes for that. But whatever platform you're listening on, thank you for hanging out with us today. Can't wait to bring you another really great episode again soon. It's going to be hard to top this one, but we'll try. We'll do our best for you. And we'll talk to you then. God bless all the business building warriors. See you soon. Hey, before we end this episode, real quick, I want to thank our sponsor, Payoneer. Payoneer.com/funding. Go there. They've got a great offer. Tell them Jim sent you. They'll give you 10% off the fees on your first funding. Remember, if you need more money to grow your business, these are some great guys to talk to. They become a sponsor of our show. We're very grateful. And if you jump over and check out what they have to offer, I think you're going to like what you see. Very flexible payment terms, great interest rates. Go check out Payoneer.com/funding. Hey, we'll see you next episode.